Making weather maps. Meteorologists bring together the information from surface measurements, atmospheric measurements, and satellite images. Then they make weather maps. A weather map is a way to show weather data as a picture. A basic weather map is a picture of high pressure and low pressure, temperatures, and places where masses of warm air and cold air meet, called fronts. With this information on a map, a meteorologist can make a good weather forecast. Reading weather maps. The sun heats Earth's surface more near the equator than at the poles. Huge masses of air over the Caribbean Sea become warm. At the same time, huge masses of air in Alaska and northern Canada become cold. The masses of cold air move south and the masses of warm air move north. When they meet, the area of contact is called a front. Weather changes happen at fronts. A cold front happens when a cold air mass collides with a mass of warm, moist air. When this happens, the cold air pushes under the warm air and pushes it into the upper atmosphere very rapidly. The warm air cools, water condenses, and a thunderstorm occurs, producing a downpour. If the temperature difference between the air masses is large, a tornado might develop. A warm front happens when a warm air mass overtakes a cold air mass. The warm air slides over the top of the cold air in a long, slanting wedge. The warm air rises and cools slowly, and water vapor condenses into liquid over a long time. Warm fronts produce light rain for a long time. On a weather map, a line with points shows where a cold front is. The points show which direction the cold front is moving. A line with round bumps is used to show where a warm front is. The side of the line with the bumps is the direction the warm front is moving. When the map is prepared in color, cold fronts are blue and warm fronts are red. Sometimes a warm front and a cold front come together and stop moving. This is called a stationary front. It is shown by a line with points on one side and bumps on the other. The weather under a stationary front is similar to the weather produced by a cold front. On a weather map, high pressure areas are shown with the large letter H. Low pressure areas are shown with the large letter L. The weather around the high pressure center is usually cool and dry. That's because high pressure is associated with more dense air. More dense air tends to be cool and dry. Low pressure areas are usually warmer and moist. That's because low pressure is associated with less dense air. When a low pressure area is near a high pressure area, air will move from the high pressure area to the low pressure area. The movement of air is wind. The weather around the low pressure area is windy and possibly rainy. As the warm air rises, cools, and condenses into clouds, it could start to rain. Look at the three weather maps. Look at the large cold front going from Texas to New York. The upper part of the front moves across several states in the east. The southern end of the front, however, is stationary. In map 1, a cold front meets a warm front in Canada. Warm, moist air rises and condenses. The forecast is for rain. In map 2, a low pressure area developed over North Dakota and South Dakota Monday afternoon. Air from the high pressure area over the Rocky Mountains in Colorado might flow across Wyoming and Nebraska to the low pressure area. The forecast is for wind. Look at map 3. What is the weather in California? There is a low pressure area off the coast of Southern California. Cool, moist air from the ocean is flowing towards the low pressure area. If the moist air warms and rises as it approaches the warm, low pressure area, it could cool and condense. The forecast is for clouds and possible showers. Look in the lower right-hand corner of the maps. There is a red symbol for a tropical storm or hurricane. This is a hurricane. It is traveling past the southern tip of Florida. The forecast is for extreme wind and rain. At national weather offices all around the United States, Meteorologists use their skill and experience to produce weather forecasts. They consider all the weather variables such as temperature, air pressure, humidity, and wind, and they use their knowledge of general weather patterns. Meteorologists know that winds in the upper atmosphere blow from west to east over most of the United States, so they know that most big weather systems also move from west to east. They also know that air flows from high pressure areas to low pressure areas. This creates wind, so they look for high pressure and low pressure areas on the weather map to figure out which way and how hard the wind will blow.